Love podcast, hate nonsense. It's PoliticsJOE podcast,
Round
ladies and
two,
gentlemen.
everybody.
Woo!
Let's go again.
We have just
Why
spiked.
record it once
when you
when you can record it twice?
Oh, it was so nice. They had to do it twice. We have spiked. We've spiked the previous 10 to 15 minutes of the podcast because there was a beeping sound and a banging and a drilling, and it wasn't very good. It wasn't flowing.
But maybe we'll put that out at Christmas.
Lost tapes. Release the drill tapes.
There's got to be some demand out there from someone.
The one person, if one person does a change.org signature to release this, I think we might consider it.
10 signatures and we'll debate it on the podcast.
10 signatures and we'll do what you want. 100
signatures and we'll release it.
Absolutely. Or
the petition for the release of the most boring interaction between two people you've ever heard.
Tell you what though, our least boring interaction, our most boring interaction, more interesting than most other people's.
Would you say so?
I say so.
That's nice, isn't it?
Yeah, I think there's there's a reason they're here.
You were outed as an office traitor, weren't you?
Oh, I was. Yeah. If you remember, was that last Wednesday when I lied about it on the podcast?
Yeah.
Ollie and Ava were accusing me of being a traitor in the work game of traitors. I was a traitor. I went nuts.
I told them. I told everyone, every single vote. I said it's Ed, it's Ed, it's Ed.
Ava nearly got me out on the first day. You actually gave me an alibi on Thursday.
Yeah.
My task was to get someone to eat something. So when I stood up, so I actually do this, and if I'm going to the shop or the supermarket at work, I always ask, does anyone want anything? And then I asked that.
And I said, he always asks that. He's very polite.
Because Connor said, that's suspicious. That's traitor behaviour. And Ava went, no, he always does that. And then Ollie asked me for a picnic bar. So I bought him a picnic bar, and that's how Ollie was killed.
Stop it, because he was going around going, Ed bought me a picnic.
Yeah, and he was and he was chomping it down.
He was, wasn't he?
Yeah, so that's how Ollie died.
He actually was. At one point, he was eating it over me. I think he came to talk to Laura or something over the desk. So he was standing above me and he was like, yeah, I've got a picnic.
Something also mental, he actually kind of died twice that day.
Yeah?
Because our initial plan was, do you remember the box of celebrations that were in the they were from the traitors. So anyone who would have eaten, the first person to have eaten something from the box of celebrations
was
going to be killed. He did. Ollie ate it first.
So Mariella's a traitor because she ate it first?
No.
She is, isn't she?
No.
Well, she is, isn't she?
No, she's not.
Well, she obviously
Laura
is.
I don't know why Mariella didn't die then. But that was...
Yeah, she ate the first one.
Or did Ollie eat the picnic first?
Yeah, no, because I even went over there to the celebration and I was like, I wasn't even going to get one. I was going to get a green tea. And she said, there's celebrations there. Do you want one? And then I ate one.
Maybe there's been a foul play then.
Maybe
we need to VAR this.
Okay, so either she is a traitor or she was just having a normal human interaction with me.
She was just being nice. I think maybe the latter.
That is so interesting.
Because I imagine Lucy would have been across the celebration eating.
Lucy's not, she's not paying any attention.
Are you joking? I've been in a group chat with her for 2.5 weeks.
Right.
Lucy's our Claudia. Anyway, what's the point of this? Oh, so the celebrations were a booby trap as well. So after a big pair of honking booby traps, but Ollie's already eaten the picnic, so he's dead already. I hear him walk into the kitchen. He goes, celebrations. We honey trapped him. It was like something from Looney Tunes. It's like trying to catch Roadrunner or something. Or Elmer Fudd with Bugs Bunny. There was a big net over a hole with some celebrations on it and a picnic bar. And Ollie was like...
And then what were those things that used to fall from the sky all the time?
Fall from the sky?
Begin with an A. Those like... Anvil.
It was so funny. Because I was saying this group chat, I was like, I think we can get Ollie with the celebrations because he sometimes goes and gets a half bag of biscuits from the kitchen. He likes treats. He likes a treat from the kitchen.
He loves treats.
Loves a treat from the kitchen. He sometimes, if we get pizza at the office, he's taking half a pizza for himself. So it was, I've worked here for like almost 4 years. It was 4 years of like was seeing how Ollie behaves in the office.
That man loves a treat.
Loves treats. He came back with a hammock, mate. He had so many celebrations. He didn't know each one was poisoned.
Again.
Oh, the beeping's back.
They've got to pack that in now.
Yeah, they do.
People going about their daily work. No, my work. Much more important. This is news. Very important.
We're catching them up with office traitors. But yeah, I lied for it. And also, I dreamed about being a traitor, which is also insane.
That is insane, isn't it?
So Jack, who was one of the other traitors, he also was dreaming about it.
Oh yeah, he's outed.
Yeah.
Sorry, I
wasn't just. What? No, Jack was out first. But like we were talking about how insane it sounds.
So it is Mariella. Mariella is.
It's not Mariella.
Well, it is, isn't it? And then Laura, but I've said that all along.
Well, Laura maybe did the celebrations with me.
I said from the beginning it was you two.
You did. Mm. That's why we had to kill you. I didn't get any more votes when you were out.
I actually know why I was killed. Can you confirm or deny if this is why I was killed? I think I was killed because I read Tom's Slack in front of you to see whether he was a traitor or not.
No.
I thought that you...
It wasn't like punishment. It was like, no, I wanted you dead because you kept saying my name at the table. It was very much like, Ava, I'm getting votes because Ava keeps voting for me. And it's drawing people's attention.
Ed actually screamed the place down the other day because on the poll, you could still vote even if you were dead, but you weren't meant to, obviously. Like, they wouldn't be counted. And I kept jumping on and voting for him. And he went... mental.
kept
he lost his
calling
head.
For a yellow card, red card. I wanted you at the Slack channel. Should we do this?
Should we do this? Should we start with Badenoch?
Yes.
And then should we circle round to Gen Z?
Yes, and
should we tell you what's on the agenda? Should we go wild today?
We never do that, but
we're
sure.
Tell you what's on the menu. So we're going to talk to you about Kemi Badenoch, who was on the broadcast round yesterday, and she was just doing a bit of, well, her first real bit of press actually, because she hasn't really spoken to them apart from the Spectator in quite some time. So we're going to talk to you about that. Then we're going to talk to you about Gen Z and democracy and some very interesting polling that says that Gen Z want a dictator. And it doesn't say that, but stay tuned. And then we're going to talk to you about Trump.
Oh, good stuff.
Ed, should we play this clip?
Yes.
You said that you worried about peasants who form sub-communities. Now, you can explain to me what you mean, but one way of reading this would be that you would prefer to have more middle-class Nigerians and fewer people from rural backgrounds in Bangladesh.
Let me be very, very clear. Immigration is too high, across the board, legal or illegal. But the point I was making there was about a specific report on that community of people who are predominant in the rape gangs. They did come from a particular place where they were mostly peasant farmers. They were insular, even from the rest of Pakistan. They're not like the people in Lahore. And that's one of the things that I'm trying to fix. And we should not be afraid to talk about that.
So we're going to apply a class lens to our immigration.
And this is, Trevor, forgive me, this is one of the problems, that when there is an issue where we have victims, girls are being raped and attacked, the conversation is more about the language that we're using. Well, what should we call the people? We can't be shy about things like that. And that's what I'm most interested in, the victim.
So that's Kemi Badenoch there.
Good grief.
Describing peasants who formed sub-communities. Wow.
It is insane.
Wow.
It is like...
It's the way that she came back with, let me be clear, immigration is too high. It's like you've just described people as peasants. In the 21st century, you described someone as peasants. It's like she doesn't... We were trying to understand this in the office and trying to work this out right. And it was almost like, okay, so you can really make the case that because Nigel Farage is sort of like licking at her heels, or actually probably the other way around now, chasing the Conservative...
Did you say opposition. Licking at her heels?
Yes, exactly what I said. I said what I said. Said what I said. Anyway.
That's a horrible image.
Anyway, she is trying to emulate some of the reform formula, right?
Yep.
But every time she does this, she seems to go way over the mark. So Nigel Farage will say something that's like, we need to bring down immigration at any cost. And then she'll go... peasants are here. And it's like...
It's too late for that, Nigel. I think it's something about, like... There's something about, like... She's suggesting that this group of people, there's an inevitability to like things like the grooming gangs taking place. Be like, well, what did you expect? They're peasants from Bangalore. Like, as if like, well, they're savages.
She said something mental as well. She was like, they're not from Lahore. And it was like, what where the non-peasants are from? Like, what?
It's becoming a bit skull measuring and being like, well, they've also got the ethnotype of the agricultural labourer.
Yeah. She was like, they're from villages. They're Kashmiri villages. Peasants. Sorry?
You can't expect them to live in a city.
It was a very good line of questioning, I thought, from Trevor Phillips there, because it was how on earth do you ask how do you interrogate something as ridiculous as that? It's oh God, when people always say, I feel sorry for the satirists. How do you satirize this? This is one of those moments. How do you talk about the leader of the opposition being on one of the flagship broadcast shows talking about peasants?
I wonder about, she's trying to mimic Farage's rhetoric, but because she has her own feelings about subclasses and subgroups of humans, that's rising to the fore instead of being like, stop the boats. It's like, only stop the boats if it's full of peasants. Just peasants and agricultural labourers. It's kind of caste. It's like a caste system almost.
Well, yeah, it is if you're describing someone as peasant.
Oh, yeah. But being like, well, we can only take... Oh, I don't know the Indian caste system well enough, but like, we can only take Brahmin. We must only have Brahmin coming to the UK.
Well, I don't know. I have to consult the listener. Do you agree with Ed?
That's my genuinely held opinion. Or did you like? I showed sending that clip of that podcast I was on, and people are going to misuse the.
When you said "fuck the Catholics," and
I was quoting someone who said "fuck Catholics" and "fuck the Pope."
That's what you said.
But it just says screenshot of me saying "fuck Catholics," screenshot of me saying "fuck the Pope."
I think it was very interesting watching the Kemi Badenoch round yesterday morning because, as I said earlier, this is the first time that she's properly gone out and done a media round since that speech she gave to Onward, where she was resetting the Conservative agenda. And it sort of proved why she doesn't do interviews.
Yeah.
Why they don't put her up for interview.
Because she's really weird.
I was thinking about how she didn't really speak during the farmers' protest, and that was a really wide open goal for a Conservative leader, and it was one that Nigel Farage really took. Mm-hmm. I mean, he became the central star of that fallout, when Labour put on the inheritance tax on farmers, because he was down on Downing Street, he was at the tractor protest, he was pictured in the tractors, he was out there for hours. Mm-hmm. He dominated that story, him and Jeremy Clarkson. Badenoch was absolutely nowhere to be seen. And then when she does actually appear above the parapet, she does things like get things wrong. So over Christmas, Farage and Reform announced that they had surpassed 150,000, 130,000...
members.
133,000 members they surpassed because it was the Conservative membership that they overtook. Instead of being a diplomatic leader, diplomatic's a bit strong, I don't know, someone with a bit of nous.
Yeah.
And saying something like, this is evidence that the Conservatives need to reconsider what their members want from their party, and I want to be the person to entice people back to us. She went, bit in the back end, Nigel. Liar. Wrong. And then, but if you're going to say something like that, you need to be sure.
Yeah, you need to be bang on.
Because it shouldn't be like, also, like, this is like quite open information, right? Like, basically what she was claiming was that one of her aides had gone into the back end and looked at it. And Reform were like, how the hell would you have gone into the back end?
Yeah.
And looked
it's not like open source data.
Exactly.
It's not on GitHub.
Yeah. Do you think you're WikiLeaks? Like, what are you talking about?
Do you think she didn't do the farmer thing because they're peasants? Do you think she objects to any agricultural form of labour?
Do you think that's what it is?
I think it is that. And she went, well, why would I help out peasants?
Do you think she wanted to go out there to call them all peasants, and they were having to hold her in the office in CCHQ?
Oh, peasants! You should be grateful for a turnip for dinner. Actually, you should not be. You should be. You should be grateful that my lord deigns to provide you with enough turnips for winter. Yeah. Actually,
it is quite feudal still, the farming system, isn't it? A lot of them are tenant farmers who literally like work for a lord. Mm-hmm. Do you remember when I interviewed that guy? What was his name? The Duke of... Man who should not be named. What was his name?
The Duke of Rainsborough.
I'm asking about how am I supposed to refer to him if I'm not allowed to name him?
We should come up with a fake name for him.
There? Studio boy?
Me?
Yeah.
Sorry,
That entire time I was talking to you.
Oh, sorry, I thought it was a content-related question. What was the...
Duke of Rutland, was it?
Yeah.
Thank you, that's all.
Let's come up with a name for Studio Boy.
Yeah, what should we call you if we
Peter.
can't call you your real name?
You can call me a member of the production staff. You can call me a colleague.
A friend.
But you don't
No,
answer.
you can't call me a friend.
He just said we can't call him a friend. I like
you didn't answer to any of the other times
I like
interviewed
Peter.
Sorry,
Peter.
I genuinely thought you were talking to Laura.
Peter Crouch actually works in the production team. That's one who can't be named.
Peter Crouch?
Yeah.
Peter, when I played football at primary school, they didn't put my name on the team sheet. They put Peter Crouch because I was so tall.
You are very tall.
You do have a bit of the Peter Crouch about you.
And it's not just because we see you out with Abby Clancy all the time.
Kemi.
Oh, the point was, sorry, the Duke of Rutland thing was that...
For the listener, Ava just knocked her notepad off the table, kind of apropos of nothing. It was like you picked it up and dropped it of your own volition. You were in total control of that there.
That was actually what it looked like when they were trying to drag Kemi Badenoch in so that she wouldn't go out to Whitehall and shout
She was slashing the
farmers.
tyres of the tractors.
Yeah. Oh, you'd be lucky, pal. Have you seen how expensive them tyres are and how big they are?
She was getting one of those zombie knives that you can buy and just...
She bought it off Instagram.
off Instagram. She was buying drugs from Snapchat, zombie knives from Instagram,
Yeah.
and attacking time. She's like, not the You Lives Blade Runners, the...
And then posting it on that
I
Chinese
forgot.
state-run version of TikTok.
What was... I forget this each time. I forgot this group last week. You know the people who slash the tires of like 4x4s?
You were calling them Blade Runners. And
Yeah,
they're
but
Blade
that's
Runners.
not... I've forgotten their name again. But she's that for tractors.
Okay.
That-
Tractor
Tractor
Slazenger? I don't know.
Tractor Slazenger.
This is like when I said that word. What was that word?
I've got no idea.
Just before Christmas, do you remember? I just like completely, I couldn't get the hang of that word.
Kind of. I do kind of remember that. If you were running the Tories comms department, what would you be doing?
Well, I'd probably be working on this. So this YouGov poll from earlier this year, a couple of weeks ago in January. It still is January for people watching this today.
This is dog shit.
This is terrible. Sorry, we're really not very well today. Who would make the best Prime Minister was asked, and the public came back 20% for Farage, 19% for Starmer, 9% for Badenoch.
9?
And to put that in perspective, 8% said Ed Davey.
Holy shit.
44% said they didn't know. I don't know about the maths on that one.
44% said they didn't know.
Maybe they said they didn't know on top. Maybe you could have multi-choice.
Yeah, I
answers.
guess so. That seems... Yeah, the
Maybe
maths on
1%
that isn't
said
great.
green. I don't know.
1% said a job share with Carla Denyer and Adrian Ramsey.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No pylons anywhere. I'd be looking at that if I was a advisor out of CCHQ, and I would be terrified, and I would probably be reassessing their MO at the moment, which is to drift further right than Farage to try and pick up the people who have left the party. Okay, so I was looking at her onward speech. She had this list of grievances, right? And the list of grievances didn't really make sense to me because I actually thought this could have been in a Labour speech. The grievances were business regulation, energy supply, foreign interference, a fertility crisis, and a lack of productivity.
Mm-hmm.
And I thought, and something about immigration. That is a Labour speech that Keir Starmer pretty much delivered something verbatim of things that they wanted to tackle. So she's basically trying to incorporate two things that are failing to cut through with both the Reform and Labour Party, and deciding that actually should be their entire policy strategy.
Yes. The fertility one's interesting because does the government make a big thing about fertility in this country? I know the Tories certainly do, like about like natalism and things like that, and about people having to have more children.
Yeah.
It's like an ACON thing, but I didn't know. But is that? I'm more just asking, do Labour talk about that?
Well, yeah, in terms of like Rayner, when she's talking about house building, she does say like people don't want to start a family because they're not on the housing ladder.
Yeah.
So I suppose it does kind of come into it there. But they're not quite on the sort of Miriam Cates, like get out there and fuck.
No job for women.
Yeah.
Proper job for women. Mother.
Yeah.
Breed. breeding machine.
Do you know what's creepy? I was listening to Lord Heseltine earlier on Politics Live, former Deputy Prime Minister, of course, and he was talking about how all of the conditions at the moment are quite 1930s Europe, and leaders, especially throughout Europe and the US, are now exploiting the economic hardship. And it's all coming out in the wash in, like, you know, the sort of politics that we're witnessing, like the AFD, the rise, what's going on in France, US, da-da-da. Why has no one spoken to Heseltine about the low birth rate thing? Because is that not a Hitler Youth thing? Didn't you used to get like a medal?
For like how many mothers? I think it was a Hitler Youth thing. I think it was a Hitler Women's thing.
Oh, was it?
Yeah, because they couldn't encourage.
Oh, you could become of age before you had to.
Yeah, it wasn't like.
breeding.
I think Hitler Youth was just boys as well.
So you can.
I love talking about the intricacies of World War II.
But they did, didn't they? They did say that.
No, I think women. I
got
think
medals
like
for...
what's German for mother? Mutter. Yeah, the Ubermutter
Not
got
very creative,
like.
that, was it? Might as well just stuck with the original. That's how language works.
Just the Ubermutter.
England was first.
If you had 10 children, I think you got like a prize. I think.
I'm pretty sure there was like bronze, silver, gold medals.
We're going to talk about this. Well, maybe we could start talking about it now. But your point about people trying to appeal to people's sense of injustice regarding like the economic situation that they find themselves in. I think something reform we're going to try and do with the young people in the UK. In the US, there's a real divergence between the lived experience of American Gen Zs and British Gen Zs, in that kind of we've seen since, well, certainly from like millennials onto Gen Z, the living standards that you would expect at 30 are like far below those of our parents. Like living standards are like stagnating, if not declining, for everyone in that cohort. American Gen Zs, they're in a pretty sweet spot. And since the year that Gen Z kind of entered adulthood, which is probably like 2015-ish. That's not true.
No way.
When did I turn 18? No, 2015. Yeah. If you're Gen Z.
You were Gen Z?
1997 is the cutoff of like
Really?
it was in the FT. Living standards in the US have grown 2.5% each year.
Really?
And so Gen Z are outpacing millennials as well on things like housing ladder and living standards as well. So there's going to be like a divergence between like the rhetoric around young people can't buy a house, young people's living standards have fallen in America, and actually like the lived experience. And so trying to prey on that sort of dissatisfaction with like, or the rhetoric around like,
because they're satisfied.
and people are like, I'm actually kind of fine. I've got a house. I've got a well-paying job in America. So like it's that the angry young men cohort actually might disappear.
Really?
Whereas in Europe, it is
Alive
prime.
and well.
It's ready to go.
Wow. So why is that then, do you think? Is it because millennials came into adulthood, well, the latter end of them, just when the financial crisis
Yeah,
hit?
that's so millennials came of age in the financial crisis, like
Right.
lower living standards, low rates of home ownership, and like kind of across the West and Europe, like those divisions haven't. That's kind of pretty much the case still in Europe. Gen Z is like even worse off than millennials, but there has been a divergence in America.
Do you know what that reminds me of?
What does that remind you of?
Sorry, just actually very broadly speaking, Robert Jenrick was out just before the weekend doing a video for GB News in which he lamented how half of the courtrooms have closed.
Gosh.
Anyway, that's happened between 2010 and 2024.
Who was in charge then? Someone. When I find out who did that.
I know. And do you know what's crazy is that while he was Justice Secretary, he could have opened them again. What else were you up to? Oh, do you know what else is interesting? The Sun this morning were reporting that Kemi Badenoch last Monday was invited to a briefing by Downing Street, a Privy Council style briefing on the Southport situation.
Yeah.
The Southport killer. She didn't go. She sent Chris Philp. So for all of that bluster about, I need to be kept in the loop about what's going on with Southport and terrorism and radicalisation, she didn't even turn up to the meeting.
Anyway,
back to the US.
Sure.
We had this. Do you want to go through the?
Well, we've got.
You go through whatever you
We've got.
want
Well, we've
to.
got options. We've got lots to talk about actually on the doc today. We're very prepared today, but no set order. So I'm happy to talk about the thing that we printed out.
Oh yeah, they know about that. Okay, everyone listening, if you could turn to the The first bit in front
Only
of you.
only one page of notes of our rundown is printed out today. The rest is on our phone.
So what this was interesting to me because this was polling about some of the executive orders that Trump has put in, or some of the policy ideas actually, because they're not all executive orders, that Trump has opted for, and it's would they sit well in the UK? So the obvious one is illegal immigration and deportations. 58% agree with that in the UK. They would like to shut the borders.
I think with this polling, we need to be clear that the polling's it's like really leading language that's being used, which is intentional, obviously. But the actual statement is: we will declare a national emergency in the Channel, and we will begin the process of returning thousands and thousands of criminal migrants back to the places from which they came. So that is what people are. That is the statement that people are agreeing with, and each of these kind of things are written in Trump's kind of style of language.
Oh yeah, that was actually really helpful. Sorry.
No, because otherwise, because I think that's like an important point about like it's simple. Like from that statement, yeah, who wouldn't disagree that criminal migrants with bad intentions shouldn't be welcomed to the UK? I think like it's taking an incredibly complex issue and putting it into like an easy solution, which is like the whole point, isn't it?
Yeah.
If you take as well the one about merit-based colourblind society, we will end the government policy of trying to socially engineer ethnicity and gender into every aspect of public and private life. We will forge a society that's colourblind and merit-based. 53% of people agree with that, 23% disagree.
But what's important about the way that is written, where it says we will forge a society that is colourblind and merit-based, I do think that is something that everyone is advocating for. But unfortunately, we couldn't fucking trust you to do it. Like, that's the problem. We had the Dame Louise Casey report about the Met just a couple of years ago that was like, oh, it's institutionally racist. Like, sorry, but there needs to be a couple of checks and balances because none of you can act normal.
Yep.
And especially over in the US, when you think about, I mean, how many years are we out of Jim Crow? 50 years?
Yeah.
50 years out of Jim Crow? It's like in living memory, there was a time where you lot thought that people of different skin colours couldn't use the same water fountain. Sorry, but there needs to be some checks and balances for you freaks.
There was there's an amazing book called Friday Night Lights, which like the TV series and the movie are based on, but it's a bit of like unbelievable journalism where a writer called Buzz Bissinger, he like went and like essentially lived in a small town called Odessa in Texas and followed their high school football team. That high school wasn't integrated until about 1982.
What?
Is that not absolutely insane? Like, it was supposed to be, obviously because of like Brown v. the Board of Education. It took them like 17 years to do it.
Really?
Is that not absolutely mental?
Who keeps objecting to that?
Well, the racist people in Odessa, Texas. But like, it was absolutely insane. There's also one of the other things that was pulled.
Was that not like was that not a federal decision?
Yeah, but I think you have to like still go through each school and each school board.
Really?
And they probably threw up hiccups each time. I can't remember what the impetus to finally do it was, but it took like fucking forever.
It's like that theatre up in, where was it? I can't remember the place name.
Arbroath?
Arbroath, yeah.
A theatre?
The theatre that kept doing the minstrel performances. But like up until really recently. You go look it up. I think it's like early 2000s. It might even be later.
That's so funny.
And it actually got to the point where the council owned the theatre. And the council just said, like, that's it. You're not using the theatre anymore.
Yeah, I think that's fair.
Why? You've been asked so many times to stop doing these minstrel performances and you keep objecting.
This is part of my national heritage.
Yeah. And they're so popular. It's like,
people are insane. Oh, you can't do anything anymore.
I mean, lots of things are popular. Like, think about how long, some of the plays have been running on the West End, People go to anything.
I saw The Mousetrap recently. I really enjoyed it.
I know you did go see The Mousetrap.
Yeah, it was excellent. Would recommend. Another thing that was polled was to restore free speech. After years and years of efforts to restrict free expression, we'll immediately stop all government censorship and bring back free speech. 53% of people agree with that.
Yeah, but then, see, in principle, just looking at that statement, if I'm not using any critical thinking and I'm not thinking about, well, what's the intent of this statement? If I just read those words, I look at it and I go, yeah, I'd like that. I would like an end to all government censorship and to bring back free speech, because my interpretation of that is like...
They're going to undo the protest laws.
I would yes! Like,
which obviously isn't what this is
It's
talking.
obviously not what
This
it's
is saying,
about.
this is like, I want to say slurs on telly. I should be able to say racial slurs on telly.
Yeah.
All the things we say now, like there's something slur, I'm going to say the word.
It's amazing, isn't it, how... I was talking about this over the weekend, actually. And the Fabians, which I really enjoyed doing that conference. It was really nice.
Shout
really
out
good
Fabian.
fun. It's just one guy. He's called Fabian.
It's like joe.co.uk.
Yeah.
Who's Fabian? Content for the average
And there's actually
Fabian.
100 of them. They're all called Fabian.
Yeah, I think at the Fabians, if that makes sense.
The point was free speech. When people are... there's a lot of bad faith actors, right, who advocate for free speech.
Oh, yeah.
Because what they mean by that is they would like to be able to possibly say racial slurs, or, you know, and racial slurs extends to like they won't let you say you want to end immigration anymore. It's like they let you say that all the time. They let you say that all the time.
They just don't want to say slurs when you're doing it.
Yeah. Anyway, but the minute that a slur is anywhere near them, they've suddenly pulled a lawyer out from nowhere and they're suing you. I mean, we won't go into examples because waste of time.
Some very litigious people listening.
But the number of people on X at the moment who will say some of the most disgusting things you've read in some time, and then the minute someone turns around and goes, "That's a bit noncy,"
Oh!
my lawyer is here.
In fairness,
Say,
I
no,
think someone's calling you a paedophile in public.
But what the point is that there is a limit to free
Yeah,
speech
okay.
and
Yeah,
free
no.
expression.
Got you.
And so these bad faith actors who say that there shouldn't be a lid at all, it should be stratospheric, that's only when it benefits them. Do you see what I'm saying?
Yeah, no, I do get that. You shouldn't be able to call.
Because you're looking at me the way that they looked at me in that room when I said, you can't call anyone a paedophile. And people were like, well, no, obviously you can't. They said, well, you shouldn't be allowed to be racist to them either. Like,
know.
well, there's no basis. You can't call someone a paedophile. I know.
Oh, that made me laugh. Thank you. That was a really good point. And I'm sorry. Well, obviously, Ava, I don't know if you heard about something called defamation. Ava, you're the dumbest person I know. Time to teach you something about defamation. Should we talk about men?
Please.
Gen Z and democracy. There's a report which Channel 4 have released, polling done by Kraft. Not heard of Kraft? Like the cheese company.
No, because it was with a C.
Oh, Kraft. Minecraft have done some polling. 52% of Gen Z said they thought the UK, quote, would be a better place if a strong leader was in charge who does not have to bother with parliament and elections. 33% suggested the UK would be better off if the army was in charge. 47% agreed that the entire way our society is organised must be radically changed through revolution. Compared to 33% of 45 to 65-year-olds. 58% of people of those polled said they considered social media posts from friends as or more trustworthy as established journalism. 42% of Gen Z men trust Andrew Tate and Jordan Peterson. And 45% of male Gen Z respondents said we've gone so far in promoting women's equality that we're discriminating against men. A similar proportion agreed when it comes to giving women equal rights, things have gone far enough.
Can you go back to one point that you said about the revolution? What was the stat on that?
47% agreed that the entire way our society is organised must be radically changed through revolution.
How old are they?
They're between 13 and 27.
Okay, can I just say, I do not believe you, because you lot won't even... as if you lot don't even go to the polling booth.
You guys don't go to work?
You lot don't even pick up the phone because you're too frightened to speak to someone.
Your
on
own
the phone.
needs.
There was polling out not so long ago that said that you guys, if someone knocked on your front door, you would just assume they were there to murder you. There's no way they're going to go and join a revolution.
No, it's also funny. I think...
Do you know what you lot would do? If there was a revolution, okay. If there was a revolution tomorrow and there was the call went out and it said, all young men, please come and help us, let's overthrow the government. You would stay at home and you would put on your Instagram story a graphic that said something like, don't order off Deliveroo today, guys. It's so dangerous. Don't subject your gig workers to working in dangerous conditions. And then you would order a KFC off Deliveroo.
Yep.
That's what you would do during the revolution.
The way people talk about Gen Z, right, is like...
I'm being attacked by fluff. Sorry, I'm literally like fluffy everywhere. Carry on.
People talk about Gen Z, you see like marketing reporting done into like Gen Z polling. It's like Gen Z are actually obsessed with wellness and not drinking, and then you're like, oh, they're fascists. They're fascists who love Andrew Tate, Jordan Peterson. There was something about like someone said, don't they realise that if we lived under a dictatorship, they'd probably have to go into the office.
That's very funny.
But I think there is something maybe to be said. If we take this...
No, wait, can we hold on that point for one minute? Because there was, I think it was... So there was a Twitter discussion about this the other week where it was just like why you should go into the office. The arguments against permanently working from home. And the big one is you are forced to mix with age categories and people that you wouldn't normally meet in your social settings.
Yeah.
And I actually think that is a huge problem. The fact that there are people who don't want to leave their echo chamber anymore, or who just aren't used to hearing alternative ways of thinking. They're not forced to deal with, and this doesn't happen in our office, but they're not forced to deal with someone who's like really pedantic over how the coffee machine works and that they should be allowed to use the microwave at a certain time because they don't have to deal with that. They're actually just so closed off.
No, I actually fully agree. I think like I like working from the office. I think I like coming to work. I know that's not the case. I know I'm very lucky, and a lot of people do not enjoy their job. But I think like if I work from home, I go nuts. Like even if, like one day without like constant social interaction is I actually find really quite damaging for the old man's mental health.
But and it's right to say that like obviously like if you want to like if you've got a family or if you're a carer, flexible working has just been life changing. It has actually been it means that a lot of people are able to work where they weren't able to work before. But I just think the argument for 5 days work from home, terrible.
If you're a recent grad and you're working, you've just moved to London and you're working in the office 1 day a week, remotely the rest of the time, I know it's like incredibly lonely. Like I think like I've been very...
Actually, I'd be really interested in that. Can you actually tell us, are you lonely? If you
Yeah.
have to do that,
Yeah,
or does it really benefit you? Can you actually, should we do a thread on the subreddit?
I'd be really curious because I think people who it's good for are those with families and it allows like the flexible care arrangements. But if you're living in a flat share, working from home in your bedroom, I think that would be hellish. I think it'd be like I've been fortunate enough to like make really good friends at work. And I think
Are they here?
No, they've left the company. But I think like I'm now just doing an advert for Joe, but like our office has like a lovely culture and everyone's very, very friendly and it's a really nice. Also, we are lucky. We have a very young office in that everyone is kind of a similar age, whatever. But I think it's been great. I can't imagine not having that thing, which is. But
I loved it in the other offices I worked as well.
Yeah.
But yeah, and I think there's like a friend of mine who's just become incredibly insular. Really like almost like I can't think of the word, agoraphobic. No, she's scared of spiders. What are you talking about? And we talk about it with them all the time, and they agree that it's because their office changed and they now work 5 days a week from home. And if you don't, it's very difficult to motivate yourself to go out of an evening if you've been working from home all day, if it's not like a Thursday or Friday, and you haven't had any fresh air. And it sounds so basic because you're like, well, you can go for a walk at lunch and da-da-da. No, sometimes people have a propensity to like become very insular if they don't have a lot of social interaction. And I worry that that's what working from home does.
Yeah, because like we're obliged to be social in the office. And like even if we didn't like each other, we would be obliged to talk to each other, and you'd get that interaction as well. You'd scratch that itch. On the 52% of Gen Z said they thought the UK would be in a better place if a strong leader was in charge who does not have to bother with Parliament and elections. On that, I think it's quite interesting that like there's no guarantee. Like I think if we had a dictator, I think maybe the UK would get worse. So it's quite interesting being like, well, we're bad now, and we're going to get rid of the freedoms that I do enjoy, like the right to free assembly, the right to vote, and I still probably won't be able to buy a house.
And there'll be someone who'll comment after this or think like, well, Labour have such a super majority. They could put anything through. As you know, there's loads of mechanisms for MPs to halt legislation or to change procedure or to add amendments or whatever. So that's not the same as a dictatorship, just to be clear, in case you were going to be Like, if you thought you were fucking Institute for Government lurking in the comments there, the supermajority.
Do you know what I think the problem is?
Sorry, that's so crazy.
Do you know what I think the problem is? So how old is a Gen Z's dad? Like, what kind of age, when were they born? Like, in the 70s? Potentially 80s?
80s, surely.
Well, they started in 97.
70s, yeah.
Started in 97. I think...
I'm trying to think about my sister, because she's Gen Z. And, yeah.
But then, but that generation of men, of fathers, are nowhere near as interested in World War II as they used to be. So they're not teaching their children the lessons of World War II.
You think that's the problem?
I think that might be the problem. They're too obsessed with the Troubles. They're too obsessed with Vietnam War. They're too obsessed with other things. They're too obsessed with, like, running. They're not taking their children to the battlefields. And they're not talking about Hitler. They're not reading enough books about... They're not reading Stalingrad. They're not reading enough books about Hitler, fathers, anymore.
And you think that's why they want to work from home all the time?
I think that's why Gen Z don't really contend with what a dictatorship would be like.
Oh, a dictatorship.
Yes.
Sorry, that's where you lost me, because I thought we were still talking about work from home.
No.
That's where I was confused.
No, the warning from history about a dictatorship. I think if they...
Do you think that there's an argument in here about the fixed term parliament?
Right. Talk me through this one.
Do you think that perhaps it should be longer than the 4 to 5 year period that it is?
No. Do you think it should be?
I wonder if that is too short to do any meaningful legislation. Because you're looking at things like this potential Heathrow expansion, the third runway. That won't be operational until 2040, right? Mm-hmm. So even if Starmer would have to win his next 3 terms in office to actually be able to receive the praise.
God, he'd be old then.
Yeah.
He'd be almost 80.
Well, yeah, exactly. It'd be 15 years away. So he's not 65.
No, but he's in his 60s.
Is he?
Yeah, he's like 62 or 63.
He looks all right for it, you know.
He looks great. Looks great.
Anyway, point was...
God, how sexy will he be when he's 79?
It's a lot of money to spend and a lot of political capital to quote unquote waste for something that you won't actually be praised for, right? So what I'm saying is we got caught in such a terrible cycle over the last 4 or 5 years of really terrible short-termism, where we weren't even looking for like what investment could we make that we would see the benefit of in 3 years' time. Conservative minister was literally like announcing something on Monday and then announcing something entirely different, scrapping that by Thursday. Like, is the term long enough to actually think about big infrastructure plans?
Yes, I think.
Do you think?
Margaret Thatcher managed it. She changed the country's entire economy.
If you're closing things rather than having to open them, like,
okay,
it's a bit easier,
I get it.
isn't
No,
it?
I know,
Like,
but she changed like the country's entire relationship with industry and economics. I think you can and should be ambitious and treat elections as annual reviews and probation reviews.
Can I say you're wrong on that, because she shut all she did was shut the mines, and then the right to buy scheme, she never replenished the stock. So basically what she did was just like...
She didn't just shut the mines.
No, what I'm saying is all she did was put an end. She stopped the milk, the mines, the replenishing stock of social housing. Like, she didn't do anything new. What was there new? Like,
neoliberalism.
She wasn't building like... Yeah, but that's an idea. You can just conceive of that. Like, what... She took, took companies out of like nationalized programs and made them private again. But none of that is like a long-term like, oh, we're going to build like Hinkley Point C and it's going to take 40 years to build. She didn't do anything like that, did she?
I think she thought she was doing things. I think she thought that like
but this is just your point about how she managed to change the entire...
I think she did.
Yeah, and I'm like, yes, she did, because she just shut things. Like,
yeah, but she did it because she was ambitious.
Yeah, but it's quicker to shut... What I'm saying is... Starmer tomorrow could just be like, right, we're shutting X, Y, and Z, and then make us a fascist state. We could go, well, he achieved a lot in his term, couldn't we? Like,
well, I think if he introduced fascism, I'd be like, well, that was a lot he did. He did do a lot. If he got rid of democracy in this country, I'd be like, wow, fucking hell. Right. Starmer's been busy. Should we agree to disagree on that one?
I was actually just thinking about where to go from here because I was thinking, how do I get this into the podcast today? That yesterday, Kemi Badenoch said her favourite Beatles song was Yellow Submarine. Is she 5?
Why?
Sorry, just to be clear, your favourite Beatles song is We're All Living on a Yellow Submarine.
That's good.
Well, what? Like, does she just go home and watch like pictures of things? Like,
She just goes home
gets
and
her
watches
husband to do a picture book for her.
like you know when you see like BBC children's television from like the 70s, it's like Andy Pandy or whatever.
Yeah.
You just say it's like, we all live in a yellow submarine.
What's her husband's name?
Mr. Kemi? I don't know.
It's like how Boris with the wheels on the bus thing, isn't it?
What was that?
You know when he painted that? He's like, I love to paint buses. It's like, you're not just going home and listening to nursery rhymes. Is that what's going on? Are you all like?
But it's so funny, like in these sort of things. Well, whatever she said there, everyone would be like, "That's weird." I don't think there's a.
No, you could be like.
What's a good answer that you could have given there?
Like an actual Beatles song. It's not like not the one that's like sorry, but not the one that's for like children.
Like Octopus's Garden or something.
But not the remastered version.
But you know when Starmer does like.
Or you could have been like, oh, do you know what? I'm not really a big Beatles fan. More of a Simon and Garfunkel me. Something normal. Or like she's like, I don't really like the Beatles. I prefer like Cardi B's WAP.
They would. Sorry, you think it'd be a better reaction if she said, "I don't like the Beatles," like WAP?
Then it would be authentic, wouldn't it? Like I would.
Like, oh no,
that's so mental. I would believe
she suffered a head injury.
Or if
she
was like, no, I don't really like them. I prefer more like Bach.
So Kemi Badenoch makes up
Or
a
she's
composer.
like, I only listen to Mozart. She's something, or like, what's that song that's like, my neck, my back.
My pussy and my back.
Yeah, exactly. But if she just said something, you could have said anything. No, I actually loved Joni Mitchell. Or I'm more of a James Taylor fan. Why did she say Yellow Submarine?
But it's like, everyone. I think politicians overcorrect that sometimes. Because like Starmer, like according to interviews with Starmer, he doesn't have a favourite book, favourite poem, favourite anything. But it's goes like this. As in like, Kemi Badenoch would be like, oh, like, she might not have expanded on the point, but she might be like, oh, my parents used to listen to it growing up, so I've got like nice childhood memories.
Yeah, when we were in the car and I was 5.
Yeah, but that's a good reason.
But Hey Jude was right there.
But then you'd be like, oh, basic. That's the most obvious one.
No, but see, I don't care if it's basic. I'm just like, it's inconceivable to me that the leader of His Majesty's opposition goes home and listens to Yellow Submarine.
Play it again.
That's insane.
Is that? Are you playing Yellow Submarine?
Can you imagine? Do you know one of those things they do on TikTok where they're like, hey, what are you listening to today? And it's Kemi Badenoch like, Yellow Submarine.
Do you think it was her first dance?
At her wedding?
Yeah.
What, you think she had a nautical themed wedding?
No, but it's her favourite song, seemingly.
Her husband had to keep like shutting her up because every time like a waiter would come over to serve her, she'd go, peasant!
I can tell by your skull shape.
Now put Yellow Submarine back on.
Which part of the Pakistani countryside are you from? I can tell.
Miri? Wow.
Well, that's. I feel that's plenty.
I think we've been going on for it.
I think that was certainly something.
What to chew on there.
Absolutely.
So points to the subreddit. Let us know if you are lonely. No, it's genuine.
I know it is. So if you're lonely, come to our subreddit with all your imaginary friends and talk about how lonely you are.
Okay, yeah. So tell us that, and then the second one is, what do you think that Kemi Badenoch's actual favourite song is?
What's your favourite Beatles song? I'm asking them. Oh, what is yours?
What's your favourite Beatles song?
What's yours?
Can I say something? And
you don't like the Beatles. You don't like the Beatles.
I don't think this is a safe space for it. I don't love the Beatles. I don't.
Okay.
I don't. If I'm going to listen to something, then I'm listening to like Americana. I'm not interested.
Americana.
Yeah.
Taylor Swift.
Well, I like her. But she wasn't for a few more years.
I asked on Friday or Thursday last week, where you and Connor, friend of the podcast, had just played like 2 hours of Taylor Swift, and you were queuing up the next album, and I said, can we maybe not have some Taylor Swift? And she went ballistic.
Can I just explain why? Okay, so basically...
Ava's about to lie, what she's going to say.
Okay, basically, like, we have to listen to whatever shite gets put on that speaker all day, every day. And there's like a sweet spot, which is just the kind of like what I would call like the nothingness, the nothing tunes. So we might get like, I don't know, Tame Impala. So every now and again, there'll be like a little treat where like, I don't know, Mac DeMarco will pop up, or Fontaine's DC will pop up. And it's like, oh, isn't that enjoyable? But apart from that, we're just listening to what I would call mellow magic. All right? And it's boring.
Oh, not like the thrill of listening to 4 Taylor Swift albums.
Or death metal. Okay? And then,
Tom
so it was just me and Connor at the desk. All right?
That's not I was there.
No, you joined. You weren't there when we conceived of this plan. Or you were just being very quiet then.
I was doing some work.
We were ignoring you. And we said, oh my God, there's no one on the speaker right now. So we took command of it. And then what Connor and I wanted to do was play Folklore, Evermore, and Tortured Poets Department, and then take each song in turn and discuss it.
Right.
I don't see why I'm not allowed to use my work time to do that.
I wanted to put on some Mac DeMarco.
That's never on.
If I'm on the speaker...
On the rare occasion is on, I'll turn to you and I'll go, oh, isn't that nice to hear?
Do you know who's playing it? It's usually me.
Oh, well, look at this guy over here.
Honestly.
Yeah.
The most obviously influenced man by Mac DeMarco.
Yeah, anyway.
What's your favourite Mac DeMarco song, audience? We should set them homework.
Yeah, what's your favourite Mac DeMarco song?
Let's get to know you. Tell us a fun facts about yourself.
And do you think that Ed is queer baiting by his favourite artist being Chapel Roan?
That's not my favourite artist.
Mole Rat.
Yeah, just accuse me of queer baiting. Who am I queer baiting?
Los Campesinos.
My massive gay audience. Someone commented once, I can't remember where this was, but it made me laugh so much. Gays in America go wild for Ed Campbell.
You're joking.
I don't know what was on.
That's amazing.
But I've never got it out of my head. I thought it was so funny.
That's so
I don't think it's true, but maybe one. I don't know.
If you are the gay in America that goes wild
sorry for queer baiting, apparently.
Let us know.
Me and Harry Styles. Thank you everyone for listening.
And if you're still here.
Yeah, good on you. Gold star for you. Thanks so much for listening, everybody.
If you're still here and you privately DM myself or Ed, but more likely Ed, we'll actually reply. But then don't send me another DM after that.
No, I was going to say I replied to all of them. That's not true. I've replied to the interesting ones.
I've stopped replying to a lot of them because the ones that I did reply, like I used to reply all the time. I'd be like, oh, this is so nice, chit chat, like chat away, and then just like 2 people took the fucking piss. All right.
Yeah, don't take the piss.
Because it was like, oh, I really like your podcast. And I was like, thank you so much. And then a picture of your cock. Like, why?
I don't get that ever, to be fair. So it's mostly just nice podcast, man. Thanks very much. So do you not like me as much? What's going on there, guys?
The rudest thing as well is one time I was talking about this like with my family. We were just like talking about it in general, and my mum said something on the line of like, you're an attractive young woman. And my sister said, sexual assault is never about being attractive. And I was like, okay, point. But when you follow
that's so funny.
She's basically like...
yeah.
She's just slamming me. Let's leave it there. Thanks ever so much.
Bye, everybody. Good work. Ava's off. She's done.